I didn't realize it at the time, but I grew up poor in the 1990s and early 2000s. It was the kind of poor that you don't recognize because it's just your everyday normality. As I got older, especially into my teenage years, there were signs and there were moments where I began to realize this. So what we're going to do in this video is run through all the items from the 1990s and early 2000s, which were signs that you actually grew up poor. The first one in particular is absolutely shocking to people, so let's dive in. And we're diving straight into the bath with second-hand bath water. This was something that I personally did growing up. I was one of 6 people in the household and our system worked really simply. You had mum and dad and then it was oldest to youngest. So I was 5th in line to the bath water, which sounds absolutely disgusting, and it was. Now, I managed to break the chain on this one when I was 12 years old. I remember getting into the bath and my mum's leg hair was just floating around. So I let the water out, put new water in, and just told my mum and dad, and they were actually cool with it. I think I forgot that growing up that this was their normality, this is what they did and what probably their parents did. So it was just passed down through generations. And I do understand from their perspective, running 6 baths every night for 6 people just wasn't financially viable. So it was just our normality. And I know it's a lot of people's normality still to this day. Heating the house with your oven. Growing up, winter was just a survival game. It was putting on an extra pair of socks, extra pair of trousers, extra jumper, your coat, your blankets, the works, just to keep yourself warm. And as soon as mum and dad were finished cooking, you'd all stand around the oven trying to get your hands warm. You had frozen toes, but you had warm hands, and that was all that matters. Wiping with fast food napkins. You have to remember that going to a fast food restaurant in the 90s and 2000s was considered a treat. So what we'd do after we'd eaten is we'd get as many napkins as we can, straws, cutlery, the works, and we'd take them home with us. And yes, when we ran out of toilet roll, the napkins were absolutely what we used. Gross, yeah. Resourceful, absolutely. Do you remember taping blankets to windows? Growing up, we had a single pane glass window in our bedroom. So what we do is we take blankets, towels, sheets, tinfoil, whatever we could get hold of, and we put it on the window. And it looked a bit like Elmer the patchwork elephant. Now, the reality is the cold air still got in, but it was a lot of fun actually putting it all together. Billy Bear ham was the stuff of legends growing up. It was very cheap and very questionable meat. But what we would do is we'd get a slice, stretch it over 2 slices of bread, and we'd convince ourselves that we're having a premium lunch meal. And whilst we're on the topic of food, we're going to talk about one of the things which still haunts me to this day, and that's beef and chicken paste. We used to buy it from Quick Save. It used to be 9p for a little jar, and my mum would spread it over the bread like it was peanut butter. Now, the reason why this gives me nightmares is to smell. Do you know when you can just smell it? We had it that often, like literally every single day was chicken paste or beef paste. If we were lucky, you get a bit of jam, it was on offer, or maybe some chocolate spread. But this is kind of what we lived on. And it was that thing where, do you know when you get your sandwiches and you just want to cry into it? That's how it used to make me feel. So sorry if you still like it, please forgive me. It's just one of those nightmares and those things that I've got from my childhood which just haunts me to this day. Home haircuts. Growing up, I was quite fortunate. My auntie used to be a hairdresser, so she cut all of our hairs for free whenever we needed it doing. Now, unfortunately, she passed away from cancer when I was just a teenager, so that responsibility then went on to my dad. My dad put a bowl over my brother's head and cut around it to give him a bowl cut. Kind of says it all. It was a thing of terror letting him loose with the scissors. Wearing shoes with holes in them. This was more so a problem in the winter months. You step in a puddle, your foot will be soaked wet through, and then you get squelched foot for the rest of the day. Now, for me personally, my shoe game is not very good. I've got a pair of Vans and I've got a pair of white shoes, and I just wear them until I need to get another pair of Vans or another pair of white shoes. But growing up, shoes were a bit of a fashion statement, and some people had new shoes all the time. So wearing shoes with holes in them, yeah, it was a problem. Your mum and dad borrowing or taking money from your paper round. So I was very lucky on this one growing up because my parents have always encouraged me to work and they've never taken a single penny away from me. But one of the friends who I did the paper round with, his mum and dad would take the money from him and say it was used to pay for bills. It was almost like their rent that they had to pay to live in the house. And that's just what happened. And after they had to keep doing the paper round just to keep paying mum and dad. It was survival for them, I'm sure. Probably taught them a lot of life lessons. I haven't connected with them in the last 10 years. But for me, I was lucky on that one, but I know it happened quite a lot. Your parents only ever buying no branded cereal and no branded drinks. In the UK, we got something called Roller Cola, and that was just basically cheap knockoff Coke or Pepsi. But what would happen is your mum and dad would get home from shopping and shout, lads, we've got a bottle of Coke in here. And you'd run in and it'd be the roller cola sat there looking at you. And you were hoping and praying, thinking, oh yes, I've got Coke, we've got Pepsi, we're in here, we've got a result. And you'd pour it, you'd drink it, and you'd be grateful and you'd appreciate it whilst you were thinking, damn, wish it was Coke. And that's just how it was growing up. Likewise with the cereal, all the no-branded cereal, it didn't have the cereal toys and it tasted like cardboard. But hey, we still had something to eat and drink. Only ever getting big gifts once a year. Now, this one is really vivid to me because I was mad into football when I was a kid. And every year, the new FIFA game was released in September or October. It's like the end of September, start of October. And the rich kids at school, their mum and dad would have that game, sometimes even pay for the pre-release on the day that it came out. Whereas what we would do is we'd stick it on the Christmas list and just hope and pray that mum and dad bought it for you on Christmas Day. And that was your one big gift until next time. Not being able to have a snack at school. Again, this is where I was fortunate. My parents always bought us snacks for school. Now, it was never the Muller Crunch Corner, the Gold Bar, the Caramel Rocky. They were all like the rich kid food. What we would have was whatever was on offer in the supermarket every single week. Usually a wagon wheel, a blue ribbon, maybe a Viscount, one of those types of snacks. And there was one person who I used to sit next to at lunch and he would always have food but never have a snack. So what I would always do is I'd break mine in half and give it to them. I used to ask my parents for two and eventually they started to put two in there for me so that I could just share it with him. And that's what we did growing up. We did just try and help each other just to get through. Bunk beds and sharing bedrooms. I shared a bedroom with two brothers. We had bunk beds on one side, which me and Steve slept on, and then we had Jono on the other side of the bedroom. 3 wardrobes in there, computer desk. I've got no idea how we fit all that stuff in the bedroom, but we did, and that's how we survived. Now, today's world, my kids, I've got 2 kids and each one has their own bedroom. And I'm really happy about that because I never had that growing up. And it seems to be that's the way that the world is trying to go at the minute. I don't know anyone where the kids share a bedroom. But back then, it used to just be the absolute norm. Flushing the toilet after many uses. Now, this is for number 1s, not number 2s, because doing a number 2 on top of number 2 ain't cool. That just doesn't happen. But for number 1s, what would happen is you go for a number 1, brother or sister would, mum or dad would, and it would just be topped up on. And it might sound absolutely disgusting, but when you don't have the money to spend on the water bill, 7 or 8 wheeze to a flush is just what happened. And I know some people still do this today, especially in the middle of the night when they don't want to flush the toilet and maybe wake up the kids. Sometimes people will wee 2, 3, 4 times and then flush the toilets in the morning. I know that still happens, but this just used to happen more from a cost-effective perspective, not for waking up the kids' perspective. Dumpster diving wasn't a trend, it was for survival. You dive into the dumpster, you look for tin food, you look for clothes, anything which could benefit you there and then. This was something that I've never had to do, but it's actually something which I think makes sense. And I actually think that companies really should just get rid of all the stuff to us so that we don't have to go and dive in those dumpsters. Dumpster diving, it was for the 90s and 2000s, and it'll still happen in 50 to 100 years' time. Eating cheap dinners. I'm talking about the culinary masterpieces of the £1 or $1 corner shop microwave meals, rice and pasta with tomato ketchup on, beans with hot dog sausages, whatever you could piece together, you put it all together like a pro chef and call it dinner. Using a single towel for week upon week. And what makes this one even more disgusting was it wasn't just a single towel, it was a repurposed towel across the family. And I remember when I was 16 years old, I watched a TV program and it's basically like how your skin shreds onto a towel. And ever since that moment, I will never use somebody else's towel or my own towel more than like twice. 2 uses is the max and it's being washed. And it drives my wife absolutely mad, but I just can't get that image. I can't believe that I did that for all those years. But that's what we had to do to survive. Eating bread or toast with sugar on top. You get your piece of bread, you toast it or you wouldn't, you put butter on it and you sprinkle sugar on it. You have to remember that jam and marmalade and all those condiments were a luxury growing up. So this for us was our sweet treat. Don't worry, you'll grow into it. These are words that if you've got older siblings, every single person has heard. I've got 2 of them, so sometimes I get second and third handed down clothes. They used to fit me like a dress because it was so much older than me. And in 5 years' time, when it finally fits you, your mum says, told you, I see you grow into it. Now this for me is one which will still happen today and for future generations. I've got 2 kids aged 2 and 4, and we do the good clothes are repurposed to my son, and the clothes which are like still fine but not quite fit for purpose, we put into a clothes bank so other people can benefit from them. Growing up in the 90s and 2000s, going to McDonald's or a fast food restaurant was a massive treat. You had to have done something really good at school, or it had to be like your birthday or Christmas, and that was the reason why your parents took you. So what we do every time we go, apart from getting all the napkins and all the different bits and pieces, every bite of your fry you took, you savoured it like it was the last time you're going to eat it. Every burger you ate, you savoured it like it was the last time you're going to eat it. Because whilst McDonald's and other fast food restaurants were designed to be affordable for us growing up, the reality was it was just a big treat and a big expense still for our parents. Powdered milk for me was the ultimate betrayal. In my teenage years, I was starting to get into like lifting weights. I was doing so much exercise. I said to my woman, can we get some protein powder, or like could we get some extra like meat please? And she goes, I've got just a thing, and pulled out a tin of powdered milk. And she goes, this has got loads of protein in, just drink it. And you have to remember, back in the day, we didn't know too much about nutrition. I saw grams of protein, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I was smashing this powdered milk, 2-3 cups a day, and it was absolutely revolting. I said, Mum, can I just drink the normal milk? And she said no, because obviously that was more expensive. And in the end, I was like, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. Not being able to go on school trips. School trips were an absolute luxury for people growing up in the 90s and 2000s. I remember when I was 9 or 10 years of age, our whole class went to a place called Conway, which is in Wales. And there's me and 2 other people who couldn't go. And back then I thought, okay, yeah, it would have been nice to go, but I get to play with my 2 friends like every day for 2 days. No teachers here, so we get to like mess around and just be idiots. That was my kind of thought process growing up. And the reality was we just couldn't afford to go on the school trip, again, which was completely fine. It's something which I think people still really struggle with today, in today's world, in particular with the finances, with what they are with school trips. My hope is that whatever school, like my son goes to a school, my hope is that I could contribute and help if somebody needs it. Vice versa, if my son ever needed it, that I'm hoping that they would also help him out. Now, I understand if you didn't grow up like this video could be quite shocking. But to me, well, I just feel a level of appreciation. I just feel gratitude. I had a roof over my head, I had clothes, and I had food. And I think sometimes we take those things for granted. We overlook them because there are millions of people all around the world right now who don't have any of that. And well, for me, I wouldn't be where I am today without that level of upbringing. I've got my own small business outside of YouTube. I've put all my own money into it. I had a really good stable job. We just bought our first house. 6 months after buying that house, I left that stable job. I took the risk to start my own company. And 6 months after I started the company, the pandemic hit, which is coming up to 7 years ago, by the way, which is just insane. And with that, it wiped my business out overnight. But without having to be resourceful growing up, without having to have had made my own money and just having to make my own way there, I wouldn't have got through that moment, because that moment was really tough. Having a mortgage, a partner, pressure, it was really, really difficult. But the reality was all these experiences kind of helped to make and shape you, and it made me hungry to just keep pushing and keep progressing. Now, what I want you guys to do at home is just hit me in the comment section with any of these things that you did growing up, any of these things that you may still do, because I know lots of people still do some of these things. And obviously, if anything is shocking to you, we want to hear all about that too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.